right, welcome to the Overheard podcast, recorded live in Banff. My name is Daniel Rudel. With me always is my co-host.
We got Matty Rage in the house. Let's go. Well, in my house, I guess.
In your house, what is
ownership?
Excuse me. If it's your first time joining us, please give us a subscribe. Jump on those like buttons. Helps us bring you more community-based episodes. Our guest this week, Manuela, welcome.
Let's go.
Well, thanks so much for having me, man.
Welcome to the show. Yeah. Great to have
Thanks for inviting me into your home.
No worries. No worries. It's on Tuesdays. It's the Overheard podcast studio. So it just transforms.
I can tell this thing is very, very cozy.
Dual-ended for sure. Some great news this week. We're officially up on Apple Podcasts as well.
Finally.
Yeah, across the board. Awesome.
Thank
you. We were slacking on it. Dan got on the train this week, and
it was a bunch of like account making. You gotta link accounts and make accounts and pay for the accounts. So it's a whole.
Well, and I thought maybe you had to have like a certain amount of content to be able to get on it, because that's where I listen to my podcast, embarrassingly.
Definitely.
And I was like, I can't find these guys there. So I was looking at you guys through like YouTube and stuff, which is cute in its own way, but it's like
now it's just like
a big deal, right?
It's absolutely it's everywhere now. So wherever you're listening, like us up. Appreciate that. We got a new sponsor as well, Drink Shaft, non-alcoholic Shaft, our new sponsor. Non-alcoholic, naturally caffeinated. We'll roll with some of that later, but absolutely delicious. If you're a local business and you're interested in partnering with us, we got a great introductory program that's going on right now, so don't be shy to slide into those DMs if you do want to add, like the one we're going to be showing to you later.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're rolling, man. Big things.
We're rolling.
This is very cool.
New year. Yeah.
You guys are so legit.
We're trying. We're trying, you know, 1 week at a time. A little bit about Manuela before we dive into things here. Manuela was born and raised in Toronto, Ontario. Is called Banff home for the past 15 years. During the winters, you'll find her at Lake Louise or in a CASI jacket.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, CASI is
the Canadian Association of Snowboard Instructors. So we're, yeah.
So she'll be spreading the love for snow and finessing the craft of teaching snowboarding. Big fan of putting her money where her mouth is. She now sits on the board of directors as the Alberta representative. So congratulations. That's huge.
Thanks. Yeah.
Where she hopes to shift the culture from an old boys club into something more inclusive and transparent.
Nice.
Yeah. Anybody who's involved in the industry is going to laugh a little bit at hearing that old boys club comment coming out, because I said it during my campaign at Sunshine Village, and I've gotten so much flack about it. It's
Why is
out
that?
of
Why?
control.
That's wild.
Because I think it was one of those like hidden truths that a lot of people didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, fair.
And as soon as I called it out, some people felt personally attacked. And I wonder why. Yeah, it's been really interesting to see the people that come up to me being like, dude, I'm so happy you said that, versus the people that are like, you should remove that word from your lexicon. It's been very interesting.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, putting your money where your mouth is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah.
Love it. During the summer, works in hospitality. You can also find her emceeing and pouring ouzo down people's throats as she convinces people she's Greek with her zest for life and fun.
People think I'm like this
pass as a
daughter of
Greek.
the owners of the restaurant, and I'm like, I'm definitely not even Greek, but let's go.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Been working to find an equally passionate venture off season.
Yeah.
Has started to work as a death doula or end of life strategist to turn her experiences with grief into meaningful rituals and ceremony for others.
Yeah.
When I mentioned that part of your bio, Nat was like, "Oh, she's the perfect one for that." So she's super pumped for you.
She's a sweetheart.
I'm super hyped. Congratulations on finding something that you're passionate in to do.
Yeah.
In the off season as well, because hospitality is great, pays the bills and it's stuff, but like, I don't know.
It's also really hard work.
Definitely.
And like it's like always kind of the same in a different way. And yeah, it's easy to get caught up in minutia that are really not very important when you work in that industry and you don't have anything passionate guiding you. I find like it's hard to love something so much and only be able to do it 7 months of the year.
For sure.
So I know a lot of
Yeah,
folks
I know,
that go Southern Hemisphere and stuff, but with a fam, that's just not possible.
Yeah,
right? Like,
no
and I
doubt.
like being settled. I like summer too, man. You gotta have some heat, some nice
you
days.
can't do the vitamin D deficiency for like your whole life.
No.
Yeah, you have SAD for like the whole year.
That's it. I'm
would
sad enough.
suck.
Like 7 months of the year. I don't need to add to that. I don't. No.
Last little bit of the bio here. She lives with her husband and her kiddo in this gorgeous slice of heaven and remains curious about everything. Through her experiences living in Banff, Manuela has learned to manage her imposter syndrome and has become a more outspoken critic of choices being made and asking why, which has gone over well most of the time. We already kind of scratched that on like in the bio. So there's nothing wrong with that, becoming more outspoken. I think it's something that kind of comes with age. You kind of stop caring of how you're seen or judged.
And we might like feel like a heightened sense of responsibility to speak up for things that we're passionate about and leave like, something behind or not, right? Like,
Does that like maybe being a mom have something to do with that?
I think
like
maybe, but I think it's also like noticing that like there's no time like right now, right? And definitely as soon as I turned 40, which was just recently, it was like, oh, I don't give a shit. All my fucks flew out the window with the F at the beginning of the number, and it's been really nice, to be honest. It's like
100%,
liberating to be like, oh, this is kind of who I am, and I can always improve. I can always be better.
For sure.
But who I am is kind of okay too. Right?
I'd say so. It's pretty dope. That's why we have you on the show.
But that's like the neat part is like kind of coming to terms with that. I don't know, especially as a female, I think like coming to a point where you can be like, no, it's okay for me to exist.
Yeah.
And it's okay for me to have my opinions.
Absolutely.
And it's okay for me to say it's an old boys club because that's what my experience with it has been. And that's valid, right?
I mean, even as a dude, to say that snowboarding isn't an old boys club would be pretty like I'm not even really in the industry.
I mean it like not in a derogatory way. There's some reverence to that. Because like who wanted to be part of that old boys club? Like everybody, right?
Exactly.
You want to be in with them, and that's kind of the problem with it is that it's exclusionary, and that there's people that aren't invited to the party, and that sucks. Like we can do better than that in 2025, and especially if we're like an organization of humans that are gathering together, like what CASI is. We're this Canadian Association of Snowboard Instructors, and what we do is we govern. Like we the motto is to inspire the best snowboard instruction in the world.
Yes,
and that's like that's cool. If you love snowboarding, you want other people to love snowboarding with you.
You don't want to go out and have a bum time snowboarding. Like that's not why anybody goes out to ride.
No, right?
I don't think I've ever had a bad day on the hill. Like not a horrible
I have.
day.
You're not a snowboard instructor if you've not had a bad day on the hill. I've had so many bad days on the hill, but
I can't deal with people I can't deal with random people that much. I'd be like, dude, come on, like I've tried to teach people how to play guitar.
Ooh.
And it's just like sometimes you're just like, man, just strum this 4 times, and it's like 18 come out, and it's like, I said 4. You can't count to 4,
right?
Well, I think instruction, like it has a certain type of person is called to teach for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom has it. I do not. My mom's a piano teacher, and I couldn't do
That's
that to
so
save
cool.
my. I couldn't do it to save my life. I'd be like, bro, it's an aim. It's an aim. Oh my god, it's an aim. Like, just screaming at kids.
It's tough. There is a huge amount of patience that's involved with it, and it can't just be love. Like there has to be more than just loving it, because as snowboard instructors, you don't get paid very much, and I'm sure it's the same with musicians and music teachers and all that stuff. Like it's piecework, and you get the hours that you get.
You love it. You don't do it because it's like you're gonna make $1 million.
That's it.
You know what
For
I mean?
sure.
It's like you get to do what you love, and then
bonus.
Yeah, bonus. You get
For
paid.
the love of the game.
Yeah.
I like what you said earlier about having good or bad days on the hill. When I used to work in a snowboard shop myself, and I used to sell a lot of gear, especially to people that were just getting into it.
Right.
And the number one thing I would tell them would be, go get a lesson. How I started snowboarding was I used to like dink around on the hills near the house and whatever. Then when I went to the ski hill for the first time, I had a buddy that was into it. He said, get a 2-hour private lesson.
Cool.
Bomb.
And he's like, that's all you need. 2-hour private lesson.
Yeah.
And it'll teach you the basics. Get on the lift, get off the lift. This is how you turn, edge pressure, this and that.
It's risk management.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
And like, that was always my number one recommendation was go and get a lesson, like 2 hours. It's money well spent. It stimulates the snowboard economy. And then like, it'll like leave you on the right foot at least, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't hate your first day out there.
No, and so you can have a second day because you're not gonna like murks yourself because there's a lot of injuries.
Big time.
Like,
Big time.
I did it like my first year out here. I think it was like the last 2 days of the season. I fell the day before. What did I do? I broke my ribs the day before coming off a jib switch and just caught an edge weird, like landed on my elbow and broke 2 ribs. And then the next morning was like the last day, so I just tensored the fuck out of him, and I'm like, called Sean. I'm like, Sean, we going for a couple laps or what? He's like, sure, dude, let's go. First lap down Wawa, went to speed check like halfway down, and it was just a sheet of ice, and just like went out and put my hand out and snapped my wrist. So like the last 2 days, and then I was going to Vegas like a week later, so I went to Vegas with broken ribs and a broken wrist. It was awesome.
Just beat up snowboarding. Being like, I could do it. I could figure out the most counterintuitive thing ever.
Oh yeah, it was like I got it, bro.
The worst, like people would think it happened to you in Vegas, right? They'll be like,
what'd you do,
man?
Vegas must have been wild, dude.
This guy's tough.
That casino really took it out on you, man.
Yeah, playing slots broke my ribs, just like just kidding.
Gambling hard.
So what keeps you here long term?
Ooh, everything's happening outside of that window right there,
good point.
and the 7-month-long season, and the community, man. Like, there's so many amazing people that are part of this, the fabric of this place, and I grew up in such a big city that like I don't know that I could actually go back to it and feel as comfortable as I was when I grew up, right? Like,
for sure.
There's a piece of this town that has my heart because of it's like it feels like a little hug of mountains. And first time I came out here was because my sister was artist in residence at the Banff Center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they were doing like a weird musical version of Pride and Prejudice, which I didn't actually end up getting to see. And oh man, it was such a weird story. But anyways, so I came out here and I was like, what are these freaking mountains? Why have I never been here snowboarding? So then I came back later that year, and that's where I met my husband on the dance floor at the Hoodoo. And it was
the old dirty Hoodoo.
Awesome.
Fake Jager bombs and
totally.
Oh yeah,
we were both very
Remember
sober
those?
when we met, and we missed the Hoodoo. Yeah, when the Hoodoo got like broken out and like when they tore it out, he actually was there as part of the construction crew. And there's like a little tiny piece of the flooring that like had come up, and he was like, "Here, babe." No, this is the most romantic thing he's ever done for me. Is a piece of the Hoodoo floor, which is kind of skitty actually when I say it out loud.
We had some wild nights down there.
Oof.
Oh, the Hoodoo.
Me and the boys playing shows down there. We got did I tell that story? We got the fire department called twice.
What?
Well, Figgy brought a smoke machine.
Oh, well, classic.
You gotta have a smoke machine. That sounds like a good show.
We're like a hardcore band, so we brought a smoke machine, and then the band, like a couple bands before us used it, and they're like, Guy shows up. He's like, you got to like turn it off or leave it low or something. You can't have it on full tilt. We're like, okay. Like, we're playing and he comes in. He's like, if I see this thing on again, dude, like, we're closing the fucking bar. It was like the whole bar was just filled with smoke.
It was just sick. Like, they let you do anything you wanted there.
Yeah,
like,
we did like metal shows down there. It was
I don't
wild.
know if it was Rude Boys or Unlimited, but one of the shops used to bring a half pipe in. You go skate in there in the wintertime. They had, I think Rude Boys definitely did that. You go to Rude Boys keg night, you'd pay like $10 at the door or something, and you could drink unlimited beer until the keg was gone.
So crazy.
Nice.
It
Such
was
good times.
phenomenal. Like, the Hoodoo was definitely, it's come up multiple episodes for
Yeah,
sure.
it was a staple of Banff. Like,
So now that the Hoodoo's closed, right? You met your husband there. You've been here 15 years. You started a family.
Yeah. Actually, when I went to the doctors to talk about maybe starting a family, the doctor was shocked. She was like, wait, are you guys planning on having a kid? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't get to see these very often.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't happen these days. That's
No,
wild.
man, there's a lot of oopsies, I think, in Banff. And we were actually planning. It was just funny for to have an interaction with the doc being like,
Like,
oh,
whoa.
wow, you guys are actually planning ahead.
Today's
That
changed.
doesn't happen very often in this town. It was pretty cool. It was funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
Made me laugh.
That's so good. Speaking of planning, like, what you've been here a long time. You've done a lot of things. You've made a life for yourself here. What would be some advice that you would give to someone that wants to stay here long term?
Buckle up. No, I'm just kidding. Probably like diversify your work, man.
Yeah.
When you give yourself entirely to one company in this town, you are at their mercy in such a way.
Yeah.
And sometimes
It's
people are
crazy,
like
yeah.
at their mercy with their housing and with their job. And like, that's a lot for people to take on mentally, you know, like
Good point, good
I
point.
I have a lot of concerns about that, but I would say diversify. Yeah. So if you can get multiple jobs or like 2 jobs with 2 different companies instead of 2 jobs under the same company, or I just find that you get to meet more people. You get to kind of vary up what normal looks like, because in hospitality, normal can be pretty fucked up in this town, you know?
That's good.
Right?
That's such a
You don't
good
have to-
point.
yeah, you don't
That's
have
such
to
a good
tell
point.
anybody here,
But then if
we've
you
been
do
doing it.
that, but you also do a little bit of like, I don't know, like some tour guiding or something where like you work on a rafting company. Or
completely different.
Something totally different where you get to meet a totally different like crew of people
makes
and a
sense.
different demographic. I think that's really important in this town, especially in terms of like longevity and feeling like you become a part of the community.
Some good advice for sure.
Yeah, I think
doubt.
a lot of people just stay in their work bubble
Yeah,
here, and that's
yeah.
easy to do because it's life expensive and you got to work hard. And but yeah, if you diversify a little bit, I think that's smart.
Or like there's like 2 types of population that never really interact. There's like the day workers and the night workers,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, big
Like,
time.
Oh,
Dude, like
Yeah,
last night
like-
I picked up a night shift. Like I might have worked 1 or 2 night shifts in the past 2 years I've been at the restaurant.
right.
And like some kid comes up to me, he's like, "Oh, hey man, like, sorry, what's your name?" I'm like, "I'm Matt." He's like, "Oh, nice. So you just starting?" I'm like, "I've been here for like 2 years."
yeah.
Like people that I just like
Just
you
different
don't
shifts.
see them. They're just on completely different shifts. They show up after I leave. Like they start at 6 or whatever, 7, and I'm out of there. So
But dude, what's crazy to me is like we've both lived in this town for like 15 years,
Yeah.
and I'm just meeting you today,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
Same
that's
thing,
how
yeah.
high,
That's-
like that's how crazy
like I've
it
been
can
here
get.
for 11 years now.
For
so
sure.
It's just wild. Like
Yeah,
we've probably crossed paths 1,000 times.
I've probably
and
seen you
just-
play music a couple times for sure.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So diversifying your work is
I think it's
definitely,
smart.
I think, not being locked into one company, especially having your lodging and your work, everything all tied in together. It puts a
gets
lot of
messy.
stress. And again, if
Yeah.
you might not be willing to say no to something, if they ask you to do something you're maybe uncomfortable with, or you don't want to do, or you don't want to pick up a shift,
That's it.
it definitely has more implication into it when it's all tied into one.
Yeah.
There is also that security. Like I know for some people that I know that say working for a place like the Fairmont where they have room and board, there's a staff kitchen you have access to, so you don't even have to worry about food or running out of food. You run out of food, you can go to the staff cafe, pick yourself up some food. So there's like,
That's crazy.
there is that security there for people that are like leaving home for the first time.
For sure.
So I think maybe like that's a cool place to start, but then diversifying and finding where you fit is definitely a good call. Because I've been in that same position, having my lodging and my work tied into the same boat. And
big
when one of them goes, both of them
Both
are
of them
gone.
go, yeah, and then you're really up Shit's Creek. It's like now you got 24 hours to try to sort out a place where it usually takes people 6 months to find a goddamn
That's
apartment.
it, right?
And
that's
it's like it's not getting any better either. It's just
it's hard, and it's becoming like the model, right? Which
Right.
which is understandable because, like you said, when people come out to this town, if they have somewhere to set up, that is less stressful, right?
time.
Like
Yeah.
knowing that you've got a piece of staffacom to get in there.
Exactly,
But there's got to be meaningful options for people to get out of that kind of stuff, especially if they're sticking around in town for a
Right.
long time. Like I was just talking to a guy yesterday, teaching him, and He was talking about how hard it's been because he's had to move rooms 3 times. He's here on a gap year program, you know?
Yeah.
And
no
the
doubt.
poor guy's feeling this for the first time in his life, is feeling kind of insecure in his housing. And he's like, this is so hard.
It sucks.
And he's
It
hooked
is.
up. Like, he's paid for his housing. He knows
Yeah.
that he's taken care of. But even then, just moving 3
Yeah,
times
it's
in the past
stressful.
2 weeks
Yeah.
has been so stressful for him. And like, it's hard.
Well, I did a few moves. Like my first year here, I was in the hostel and then staff accommodation, and then I lived up at Sunshine for the end of the season, and then the season ended there, so I moved back to town, and it's like, and then I moved to another apartment, and then that was like a year, and then I moved here, and that was pretty much about it. Like I've been here,
Never move again.
I'm like,
Right? Like,
it's like I've been here so long because there's like not really any other options, especially like pet friendly options.
Totally.
For sure.
yeah.
That would be my advice to anyone that's new to Banff, would be get good at moving.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Pack
fair.
light.
Yeah,
So
get rid of your stuff. Make sure everything sparks joy.
Yeah,
right?
Like get rid of your clutter. Just keep the shit you need, because you never know when you're gonna have to pack it all up and move.
Yeah.
I actually learned a sick like moving tip working in retail, and it's like you put everything on hangers and you tape the hangers together, and then you can just put garbage bags over them.
Oh yeah,
And you
that's
stick the hangers through.
Oh, yeah, it's a clutch move.
like
Oh, big
then
time.
you can just fire them in the
saves
car.
you so
Bam,
much
bam,
time.
bam.
Yeah, I've actually figured out a system so that I don't even have to waste the garbage bag. Like you
Oh,
can tie it from the
reuse?
bottom
Yeah,
to the top.
yeah,
That way
yeah,
you can still use it for
No,
garbage.
smart.
After. Oh yeah. Upcycling.
Amazing. Enough about the bad part of Banff. Let's talk a little bit about snowboarding.
Ooh.
When did you get into snowboarding? When did you start? Like,
So
what was?
funny.
Yeah, what was the entrance to snowboarding
So
for you?
back in the day, I hope they still do this for kids, but back in the day, they used to do these things in Ontario called winter activity days. And they was part of like your high school experience, and you could go
cool.
and do a winter activity.
Yeah.
And so I
That's
already
sweet.
knew how to ski. And I was like, why am I going to go ski there? Like, I'm a little bit of a snob. I grew up with French parents, and
Nice.
they had a timeshare at Val Thorens, so I grew up skiing Val Thorens. And I was like,
Yeah.
why am I going to go to freaking Mount St. Louis Moonstone and go enjoy like I knew I wasn't gonna have a good time, so I was like, I'm just gonna try snowboarding.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I tried snowboarding for one day, and a lot of my friends were really bad at it, and I got to go up the hill. Like I got to get off the learner area and actually
same.
go up the chairlift for the first time that I ever learned, and I felt so like cool about it, and like I got to meet up with my friends that already knew how to do it, and
That's sweet.
and I remember just like coming down the hill and just being like, wow, this is different. Like this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so
And then
sick.
I came down to the Bunny Hill area, and I remember seeing my buddy Anthony, and he was wearing this he was so tall, had the brightest red hair, and he wore it like in like those punk spikes from back in the day,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
we were total
Nice.
punks.
Liberty
We were
spikes.
total
I had those for a bit.
And he did them with like full like icing sugar and like egg whites, you know, like classic punk way,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing him, and he's going through, and he's trying to stay standing on his snowboard, and he just falls over like this green bean with like attachments on his head. It just looks so silly, and we laughed so hard. It was just one of the best days ever of like high school, you
Yeah,
know?
sick.
And it was so healthy because we were all engaging in a lot of unhealthy habits at that point in high school. And that
Fair
was like,
enough.
we all felt good. We all had a great time. And then later on that season, my friend was like, hey, we're going to Tremblant for 3 days. You want to come snowboard at Tremblant? And I was like,
Nice.
sure. It was part of a super religious church group. I was raised
God.
by a staunch atheist. It was really fucking weird, not gonna lie.
Oh my
But the
God.
snowboarding was really great, and we figured out that we could put snow into certain apparatus to smoke outside,
Yeah.
and it was really
Nice.
enjoyable. Yeah.
Nice.
So we changed our lives a little bit, and then the following year, this same friend that had brought me to Tremblant was like, "I'm gonna become a snowboard instructor," and I was like, "What?" And she was like, yeah, I'm going to teach snowboarding. And I didn't even know that that was an option. And I was like,
That's sweet.
well,
Sick.
maybe I will too. So I was essentially 4 days on a board before I took my CASI level 1.
Amazing.
And they taught me how to snowboard properly. And I didn't realize how poorly I was doing it before. And then once I figured it out, everything just got so much easier. And I started teaching for this traveling snow school back in Ontario called Snowhawks. Shout out to Snowhawks. We love them. Met some of my very best friends through there. And yeah, we would take these huge Pacific Western buses, and they would pack them with kids and with instructors, and you would go up
Sweet.
to the ski hill, and you would teach the kids for the day, and then you would come back, and the kids would get picked up by their parents back at bus stops. And then you just go home. It was so sick.
That's
So that was
fucking
my
sweet.
side gig. It was like my Saturday,
not
Sunday
bad at
job.
all.
And I
Awesome.
got paid to go snowboarding.
Dope.
And
Get
like,
paid to go snowboarding all weekend. It's like, okay, cool, man.
Oh,
Hook it
man.
up. Yeah, like that's awesome.
it was really cool. And I will never forget my first group. I wonder where they're all at now, man. I wish I'd kept in touch with them. They left such a mark on me because we had to come up with these group names because it was like these
Oh,
lame,
yeah.
like, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
summer
Nice.
camp kind of things,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
like winter camp. And they were these 8-week long programs. So you get pretty close with your crew. And I was like, okay, we got to come up with our name. And they just started yelling out, "Where are the Speds? Where are the Speds?" Because half of them were gifted, the other half were in special education. So we fully got called the Speds for the rest of the season.
Nice.
Oh my God, that's
And
awesome.
in classic Manuela fashion, I hadn't actually gone to pick up my snowsuit early enough in the season. So I just had to get given what was left, and it was an extra large snowsuit. And for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm 5'2" on a good day. And it was an extra large unisex.
Yeah, but that would have been
Oh
so
my
cool
God.
back
so
then, though.
my
Yeah, that
nickname
was
was
a
Big
steez.
Mama. At
Nice.
17 years of age, on my snowboard, teaching snowboarding for the first time. It was the coolest group.
That's
I'll
awesome.
never forget those kiddos.
That's
It was
sweet.
a really great time. And I think since I had such a good first season teaching this 8-week program with those kids, I just got hooked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I can do this on the side? Like I was working for I ended up working for a school and stuff like that. And I still
yeah.
did it on the side. Like I just kind of continued to do it in Ontario on the side. And then I had like a layoff that was handed to me, but I also had enough time in the company that I was going to get a bunch of money if I just took my severance.
Sick.
So I took my severance and I had met this guy on the dance floor at the Hoodoo and I moved to Calgary and I got a job at Sunshine Village teaching. And
There
then,
you go.
yeah, 16
Wild.
years later now, here I am.
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wild.
Crazy. So you kind of like half-ass planned to come out here then, I guess.
I did. Yeah,
Nice.
I totally came out here because I was like, I'm sick of Ontario.
Yeah.
I was sick of Toronto. I was
Yeah.
sick of working like 9 to
Same.
5 all the time and like living for my weekends. I was like, let's try to make something of it. And I had actually applied for a job at Lake Louise the year previous.
Oh, cool.
And they had offered me a job in the office. And I was like, well, no, that just
No,
won't do.
already outside.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. And yeah, so then when I had an interview with Sunshine, she fully hired me. Lovely lady, did not have enough hours for me. It was brutal.
yeah.
My first 3 months working at Sunshine Village, I made negative money because I owed more for my staff accommodation than I was getting paid.
Yeah, well, that seems like a very common problem in
Yes.
the industry, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I haven't met any in a long time, but like kids coming over from like Europe to come learn how to be snowboard instructors, and they get here, and it's like Christmas
they
is
got 2
busy.
lessons a week and
Yeah, you got 2 lessons a week. You're only getting
If
paid for
you're
the
lucky.
hours that you're teaching.
That's
correct?
it. And you
So-
have to get up there, and then you also have to be there for a certain amount of time. And if there isn't work for you, you're not getting work. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of other industries within this town actually have similar vibes, like with like massage therapists and things like that. I can only imagine
Right.
that if you don't have bookings, you just don't have bookings.
Yeah, you just don't
Yeah.
have work. Yeah.
Right. And so back in the day, we used to have a minimum, which was that if you showed up, and our days usually started at 8:25. If you didn't get a lesson by 2 p.m., you
Whoa.
would get your top-up wage, and your top-up wage was $30.
Whoa.
So you
Oh,
got
man.
3 times $10 an hour.
Whoa.
And so you would be there from 8:30 in the morning to at least 2:30.
Yeah.
And you know, if you were smart or if you wanted to stick around, you had a hospitality job that you would have to like bust your butt back
Yeah.
to after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
so like, yeah, it's
That's a long
a
day.
tough industry for sure. And it's a long day for 3 hours. I'd like to say that the needle has moved on how people get paid like that. I can't say that it has that much. A little bit. There's been improvements for sure. There's a lot of wicked snow school directors in this valley that are fighting really hard, like the good fight. We're just seen as like the least likable departments on hill. Kind of.
Oh,
Like people
that's
love
wild.
to hate on snowboard and ski instructors. They
That's
really
wild.
do.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
it's, well, because some of them are real shitty. I'm not gonna
Well,
lie.
yeah,
Like
that makes
some of
sense.
them are really entitled and really shitty. Like there's all those bad jokes about like, how do you know when like a ski instructor walks into a room? Don't worry, they'll tell
Yeah.
you. Like you know, like there's all
Yeah,
these jokes that
yeah.
are just like nonstop about that. And some people make it make sense, but the majority of people that work in the industry are just like lovely human beings.
For sure.
And they really love what they do. Like you don't see somebody that's out on hill for that little money for that long in like minus 30 days.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
that
it's
sucks.
just the perks. It's all the perks that I get. Like the perk is that
Yeah,
you
you
get
get
to
to ride,
snowboard.
yeah.
Not gonna lie, coming back from mat leave though, and like being like, I gotta get back to work. And my work being like going to teach snowboarding. That felt like a
Sweet,
cheat code.
for
It was a
sure.
total cheat code.
No
but
doubt.
I've also put my time in, and I think it's definitely the kind of industry where if you don't hack it and you don't put your time in, you're never going to change your experience in it. Like
100%.
yeah.
Anything where the top end of the spectrum kind of makes the most amount of money. It's like that with anything. It's like that with serving. It's like that with any industry, really. Like you have to put your time in. No top position is just given to you.
No.
So it does take time.
For
you
sure.
know, like
but how long can you hack it?
That's it.
At
Yeah,
so
no, yeah.
little,
That's
right?
it,
And
yeah.
like you don't meet many snow and ski instructors that are like not at least having 2 or 3 jobs.
Right.
for sure.
And if they do, that's because they're like, maybe like they got some nice family that's got a lot of cushioning for them. You know, like it's
Definitely.
a lot of people get really creative though. They work at like some of the shops. They work at anywhere that can give them a bit of a discount on gear or anything like that.
Cool.
Like there's
Smart.
Or like tree planters or construction or
Huge.
any type of like big money industry where they can work unlimited hours in the summer and then work
Yeah, no,
the
and
rest of the
actually
winter.
get paid real good during the summer because that's an important part to offset it then in the winter for sure.
Yeah, like if you're making minimum wage all summer and then making that in
Nothing.
the winter, you're
Yeah.
gonna be fucked like by the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Like,
And the
that's
problem's not like our wage, right? Like like I said, we've got some really great people that are fighting for us. Like the wage itself is high. It's just that the amount of hours
Right.
can be so low and
Well,
people
it's just a variance too, right?
Totally.
Like you don't have a set schedule. You don't know when you're gonna work or not work. You're kind of
That's
just
it.
always on call, and then it's like
yeah.
chill out and wait.
Chill and wait. And like the
chill
best
and
part
wait.
is that like
Yeah.
chill and wait here at Lake Louise where you get to ski some of the best terrain
Yeah, I
in
know.
Canada. And it's like, okay, like there's a lot of perks to it for sure, but it's not glamorous.
Chilling and waiting doesn't pay the bills though.
That's right.
Yeah,
no,
so-
and passion doesn't pay the bills. And
No.
unfortunately, it's just like music where
Oh,
like
it's the same, yeah.
people are like, "Oh, but you love it. So you should do it for cheap."
Right.
And it's like, well,
It's like, well, I brought $15,000 worth of gear here to play guitar tonight,
Yeah.
so I'd like to get at least just a couple bucks. You know? And they're
Yeah,
like,
man.
Here's 2 drink tickets. It's like for the whole band. I've had it before where we're a 5-piece band, and they're like, here's 2 drink tickets. I'm like, each? They're like, no.
Total.
what?
I'm like, so we gonna make this fucking
That
rock
should be
tape?
criminal. That's atrocious,
Oh, dude,
man.
it's kind of the reason why I've just kind of like almost given up on playing in bands. It's like I love playing guitar, but it's like the work to reward is after like 25 years of doing it.
Huge.
It's just like,
Yeah.
do I really want to do all this fucking work to just go play music for an hour and not get paid? And like,
That's rough, man.
it's like people don't show up. It's like, you know how it is. It's
Yeah,
just like,
it's just hit or miss, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
so-
and you have that one night where you're like, "Oh, I love this. I should do this
Yeah,
every single
exactly.
day,"
Yeah, exactly.
and then it doesn't happen like that every time. Yeah.
it's like it's hard to make money. Like you can't do it just playing live gigs. You've got to find, like you said, other avenues of making money, like
That's
Yeah.
it.
guitar lessons, guitar repairs. Like I used to
Totally.
do that shit on the side, and it's just you got to like do something to kind of stay relevant, but not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it also has to be something that doesn't like take away from your joy for
Right.
it, right? Because
Big
I've seen
time.
a lot of that in the industry where like people start teaching snowboarding and then all of a sudden they start fucking hating snowboarding.
Yeah, they're just like,
and they're just so mad about it all the time. And you're like, dude, okay, you got to change it. Like, don't hate snowboarding because of this. Like, it's not worth it.
It's a big part of the reason when I was moving out here, a lot of people were like, "Oh, are you going to work in?" Because I was working in a snowboard shop. Like, "Are you going to
Yeah.
go teach? Are you going to go work at a ski hill?" I was like, "I want to like go there and enjoy it for what it is."
yeah.
Which I found out soon enough was if I work nights, I get to spend more days on the hill, which was kind of
Which
like
is a lot of
bonus.
guys.
how I
do,
got
so,
that ball rolling.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about the snowboard industry, I kind of wanted to say it earlier, was you, especially teaching it, you would be a victim of your own success. Like if you're a good instructor, you teach someone once and they don't come back, right?
Oh, no, honey.
So,
no. If you're a really good instructor, people keep coming.
oh, you keep coming back. Keep
Well, because
coming back.
it's like you create a vibe, right? Like I have a lot of students who are fantastic snowboarders and they still come back because we get to hang out.
Fair.
Right? And
Yeah, nice.
like I'm not going to make them worse at snowboarding, but I'm definitely going to be able to show them some little zones and some spots that they don't usually go to. And I'm
Very
going to be like,
true.
we can do this. You can do this. Let's go. Like,
Yeah, sick.
it's once you start having actually like a relationship with people where it's like there's a family that comes up to visit me every year from Mexico. And they came before I was their snowboard instructor, but now I get to be part of their experience up here. And like, I've watched these kiddos grow up. Like, they're like 18 now, and I've known them for 9 years. It's outrageous. Like,
So it almost like goes beyond only the physical act of snowboarding. Like, it goes with building confidence and everything that kind of encompasses the day.
It's kind of like hairdressers. So much more of it is psychological, where you're like helping people to get over things or helping people understand the physics behind something, so they're not so afraid of something that's like immeasurable or not understandable.
Like if someone's like, just do a cork, you're like, well, I'm not going upside down on a fucking snowboard. Are you high? And it's like, well, yeah, but there's like a right way to do it. You just gotta. It's a little easier to have someone show you the right way than try to figure it out on yourself and land on your head 100 times.
100%, especially when it's something like counterintuitive and when it's a physical experience, right? Like, if it was skiing, people wouldn't need lessons in the same way. I'm sorry. Like, it sounds so bad. And I talk smack all the time. I do love my ski brethren, and I love skiing too. But skiing, you can figure out on your own. You slide, and you've got these edges. And if you've ever skated, it's kind of like, you might not be doing it well, but you can slide and not kill yourself pretty easily, right?
Yeah.
On a snowboard, like, we just never walk like crabs. Like, you never go over your shoulder, and they're like, unless you're trying to like make your way through, like, I don't know, like a pit, or like trying to get somewhere where you're like, okay, excuse me, please don't bring me into it. Like, you know, like, and you're making yourself small. You never move in that direction. Like,
that's a good point.
It's really counterintuitive. And people are like, I don't understand why snowboarding's so hard. And it's like, dude,
you're going sideways.
You just don't move that way usually. You never slide that way. And like, sliding in the first place, people are like, ugh. Like,
they get all weird.
They get super weird about it. And so like, if you're not used to sliding and all of a sudden you're sliding sideways, like, what?
True.
It's the same as people getting on a skateboard, man. Like, and skateboard's even harder. Like, they're even harder because they're so much touchier and they're so much smaller, and snow is so much more forgiving. Skateboarding is so hard. I started trying to be on a shorty like last summer, and I got my first concrete tattoo, and it hurts so bad. Skateboarding is terrifying, but I'm also so happy to be bad at something. Like, I love sucking at it.
So you can get that satisfaction of just like seeing the growth. Is that like
totally
what it is?
Because like, what I did is like, I went like up and backwards the wrong way, and like a couple times, and I started getting bigger and bigger, like up on this kind of half pipe, and I was like, whoa, like, this is so cool. Like, that feeling of being like so scared, but also being like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Like, it's a really cool feeling, and getting to be part of that when you're teaching people how to snowboard is incredible.
Fair.
Like, there's
you get
such
to relive
a reward.
That. Like,
oh man, and like when you see something like a light bulb go off in someone's head, where all of a sudden they've just figured something out that they didn't understand before, and then they're like, whoa, and you see this smile creep up on their face. It's so selfish to love it so much, right? Like, it's really enjoyable, and then you also get paid to like watch people eat it. Like they eat a lot of doo-doo when they're learning how to snowboard, and it's like,
what's the protocol of laughing? Do you laugh? Like,
depends on the relationship you have with your customer, right? Like, it totally depends on how you've set it up, and it depends on how hurt they are.
Okay, fair.
Man.
Any like notable injuries?
Because I'm bad at that.
I've been pretty lucky. I think I'm pretty good at my job, and I'm pretty good at risk management. But I did have one really bad injury that does stick out. Because there was this great friend of mine. He still is in town during the winters. And he was going by me and my student, and we were going towards Jackrabbit, right on that big long flat.
Yeah.
And she kind of got a little stuck towards the end. And so he was like, hey, grab my pole. I'll give you a ride, right? And this is years ago, because I haven't taught at Sunshine in years. And she grabbed onto the pole, and he just started like hooning, like going. And she wasn't fully prepared for that amount of speed. And so she fell on the cat track and broke her wrist like bad.
Oh my God.
And so then I had to explain to her mom how she broke her wrist on like the flattest, like least exciting thing that we had been on. And it was just because she had like hung on to this other ski instructor's pole who had like pulled her way too hard and way too fast.
I used to yell at people all the time. Even people I didn't know, I'd be on there. I'm like, buddy, give me a tug.
Somebody stick out a totally. Well, he was just trying to be like the best guy ever and like help her out. And she was super into it, and I was like, "No, don't do it." And then she did it, and I was like, told us so. But no, she. It was a good break. Like, there was like clearly 2 spots where it was broken, and you could see it. And I'm no doctor, but it was pretty obvious. We were like, "Okay, we're done. I'm calling your mom right now. Sorry, this sucks."
Yeah, I was up there. I saw a chick do the almost exact same thing, like snap it right here.
Yep,
happened to me too.
It was that little like side hit right when you drop in on Wolverine. That little
yeah.
like side
Oh
hit.
my god! Right
So-
with the chairlift,
Oh, yeah.
like yeah.
Duncan
Oh my god!
Comes as
Old
me
faithful.
Duncan. He comes up and like hits this little back one, and he's just like riding it out. And this chick on skis, like, and he's like riding backwards, like switch, so he can't really see. And this chick on skis just comes across and like plowed him.
Aw.
And she like hit the dirt, and like her arm was you could see it. It was just like
Yeah,
hanging.
you know instantly.
And I was like, oh my god. He's like, holy, like he turned around kind of pissed off because like she took him right out.
Totally,
He's like,
yeah.
It's like, what the fuck, man? And then he saw her arm. He's like, oh my god, I'm sorry. I was like, Duncan, no, you didn't even do anything. And then like it just like this. As soon as he landed, this chick just like he came out of the air, and this chick came across and just like connected, and that was it.
I feel like that's when like the worst
nothing
like
you
the
can
worst
do.
injuries happen is the dumbest stuff. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
never when you're trying something crazy. Like
The most dangerous run at Lake Louise is Wee Waxy. It's a
100%.
green run. It's
Yeah.
the number 9,
Yeah.
and it takes out more ski instructors, snowboard instructors than any other run on the mountain. I swear.
Wow.
Like, and we go down double blacks, man.
Oh, yeah.
But it's Wee Waxy. You gotta watch
It's
out.
Wee
there.
Waxy
That's for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Running into people.
Yeah. Well, also just like when you're going on something that's so easy, you go into like autopilot sometimes. And then you're not paying attention to the changes in grooming or the changes in like, oh, this is happening or this person's here or like, so sometimes it's just people trying also crazy technical things on really mellow terrain because that's a
Right.
good place to learn
Right.
something
Right.
new.
For sure.
So like people like high side themselves on Wee Waxy and like knock themselves out and stuff, and it sucks, but it's
Yeah.
because they're
Almost-
trying to do something super
I
different.
almost did that at like 97K on.
it happens.
Was
Like
that like Banff Avenue or what's the one on Goat's Eye that comes like all the way around? It's got,
Oh,
like, the two
Sunshine
little
Coast.
whoops.
Sunshine
Sunshine
Coast. Yeah.
Yeah,
classic.
you know how fast you can get going
Oh,
down.
yeah,
You
dude.
come in and like that second roller, you just like go boom, and you just go floating.
Uh-huh.
You don't even have to try.
yeah.
Come down, hit on like I'm on my toe edge, and there was like something at the bottom, like a rut or something. I hit it and wobbled, and like I was almost in like full brace mode, like just to hit the back of my head at 100K.
Like it's part of
But-
snowboarding, right? Like as you get and progress
got
in
out of
your
that
tricks,
somehow.
you start doing them faster and faster and faster. So like,
Yep.
what?
And your medium's constantly changing. Like the snow is
Yeah.
constantly
Oh,
changing.
yeah,
You've got little boilerplates sometimes that you're like, whoa, there's ice there. And snow is crazy different. It's
Some
it's
of my
cool.
worst injuries, I broke my foot hitting a jump that I was hitting the day before. I was hitting it the afternoon before,
Right.
maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, standish laps, having a great time.
Yeah.
Go back the next day, maybe around 10 a.m.
Classic mistake.
Hitting the
Yep.
same thing, didn't check it out.
Nope.
Overshot it, landed in this big hole that must have developed after I left, before I got there.
Yep.
And then my knee touched the nose of my board and I broke part of my foot.
Ouch.
I had one of those too coming down
but
weird
yeah,
off a drop in, and
it's
just, like, Your
crazy.
leg goes backwards, like
Yeah.
my knee almost touched my fucking board, and I was like, my
Aye,
ankle's
aye,
pretty
aye.
fucked for a bit, but
Oh, brutal.
I'm
man.
used to it from skateboarding. Snowboarding, I've had way less ankle bites.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
time.
because it's ankle bites on skateboards are the worst, man. Every time it happens to me, I'm like personally offended by myself. I'm like,
I did-
why would I do this?
I did one once where like I landed
Oh, it's
weird
so
on a
painful.
heel flip off this big drop, and like my toes kind of went off the front of my board, and both of my ankles just went like that at the same time.
And it always
Dude.
gets you like right in the most sensitive part of like the inside of your ankle,
yeah.
where you're like nothing ever touches that, barely even sun.
My shins are very dented from from
Oh,
skateboarding.
yeah, I believe that.
time.
I believe
Well, enough
that.
about the injuries. We touched a little bit about it earlier, CASI, and what they do. So they oversee the instruction.
Yeah, they're the governing body of snowboard instruction in Canada.
So what do you do as like the board? Like, what does the board of directors for CASI do? Let's say, what's their
I think like a
directive?
good way to describe what some boards do and what this board does is it kind of tries to steer the ship, right? So if CASI was a ship, the board is in charge of kind of trying to choose the direction that it's going and making sure that the decisions that are being made and that the things that are happening within the organization are all kind of in line with our values and our mission statement.
Cool.
Which is to inspire the best snowboard instruction in the world.
Yes.
And then so there's reps from most provinces, and
Yeah.
then we also have an Eastern rep and a Western rep. And so there's about 7 people on the board.
Okay, nice.
And then the executive director of the organization is also like at board meetings with us, and he oversees the entire running of the organization, which includes our technical director and the person that like decides what the future of snowboard instruction will look like, really,
Cool.
from a technical standpoint, which is so much of it.
Yeah.
And then
so what like what you're going to teach as far as like body position and like
Totally.
the actual manual of how to snowboard?
yeah, we have the CASI reference guide. It's
That's
our
that's
Bible. Yeah, it's hasn't been printed in a bunch of years because we are also trying to be good environmentally because we want to protect our winters, right?
Cool.
But yeah, every member has access to it as soon as they do their level 1, and it's the CASI reference guide has a ton of information. It's been like a volunteer work from not volunteer work only, but a lot of volunteers have put a ton of time and efforts. Some of the best snowboard instructors that you've ever seen, people that have been on our technical team. So our technical team is selected, I think it's yearly now. And there are the best snowboard instructors in the country who have some of the best snowboarding skills as well. So they are inspiring in every single way.
Nice.
And so our national technical team are responsible for delivering like a ton of material to the country and are kind of seen as like the gold standard. Sadly, they are all volunteers. And I'd like to change that. Yeah, because they're like at the top of our industry and they're volunteer. But the idea being that they're so passionate about it and that they've got so much to share that they really are like happy to do
That's
it
awesome.
from what I've understood.
Cool.
That being said, I don't know that it's fair to ask them to do that for free just because of that. So
no doubt.
as an organization that has like last year pulled in quite a bit of profit, and we're a not-for-profit corporation. So anything that we get, it's federally governed, and anything that we get in terms of profits, we're supposed to pour back into our membership. And so that's a big part of why I wanted to be on the board, to be able to continue to influence choices and to continue to make sure that we were investing back in our membership and that the people that work so hard and get paid so little are getting something out of it. So
Nice.
they've been incredible people on the board before me. The last Alberta board rep was a gentleman named Rob Stevens, who was actually the voice of the CBC Olympics for snowboarding.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he lives in the valley.
awesome.
He lives out in Canmore. He's a wicked dude. He's a huge mentor to a bunch of people in this valley.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of legends that live in this town.
For sure.
That you walk among. There's an incredible guy named Adam who lives out in Canmore, and he's our regional coordinator now. And
Sweet.
he has just in having somebody like him around, he's changed the way that we're doing. But I don't know if I can give him all the credit, but he's an absolute testament to what can happen when really good people are promoted. You know, like he's a phenomenal dude. He speaks up for the people that might not necessarily be in the room with him. And he has given us a level of professionalism. Like if you're in the snowboard instruction world in Alberta, you know who Adam is. Even in all of Canada, you know exactly who Adam is. And he's just an absolute gem who is one of the people that puts so much time and effort into that like reference guide and things like that.
For sure.
So we stand on the shoulders of giants, for sure.
Amazing.
A lot of them are still very much around. And it's an incredible organization that's trying to do some really, really good things. And the way that we teach snowboarding is so user-friendly. Like we can teach anybody from any walk of life. Like there's so many options given to us within the system that we have. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's super cool. Sorry,
awesome.
I'm totally gushing over.
No, that's awesome. Like that's what we wanted to talk about. Like it kind of breaks down what the board does and what the whole kind of organization does as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I love snowboarding, so it's I love seeing people get hyped about snowboarding.
It's awesome. And like the community has been getting larger and larger. So we've had a 230% increase in interest in CASI courses over the past few years, especially since COVID. And the reason can be largely attributed to the Chinese Canadian community and the Chinese community in general starting to become more and more interested in becoming CASI certified, because it's like a marker of you're pretty good at this, you know, like you can do this. So it's like a little bit of a prestige thing, as I've understood from some members of the community. And it's incredible to see how many people learn so much in like the level 1 course is 3 days long. Right?
That's it?
It's 3 days long.
Crazy.
That's all it is. And in that 3 days, you get taught how to teach somebody from a very, very beginner, like that's never touched a snowboard before, to teaching somebody who can like kind of already turn a little bit and making them better at it. And like, that's 3 days. That's not a lot of time, right?
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
The learning curve in snowboarding is exponential. Like your first day on a snowboard might be a little bit difficult, but once you get it, you're going to get better so much quicker. As far as the technical aspect doesn't seem to be as important as skiing. Skiing, I think like your first day will be a little bit more comfortable, be more easier, but your road to becoming technically sound is much, much longer.
You know what? I'm going to call you out on that. That's
Okay.
a fallacy.
Okay,
How
let's
many
hear it.
people do you know that are masters of snowboarding?
A lot. Oh, quite a few.
Masters, like they can
depends.
hit anything, any way, and their technique looks great.
I would
like,
think
I feel
so.
like skiing has this this prestige to it because people like are like, oh, that's not good skiing. That's
like
good skiing.
the sloppy
Whereas on
style-
snowboards, sloppy style, you get away with
Is
it. You look
rewarded.
at Nico Mueller and you're like, that guy's counter rotating like a motherfucker over there. But he's still good. Like he's still getting it out. He's still doing some wicked shit on his snowboard.
That's
but
what
is
I
that
mean.
really mastery?
But
Like,
that's what I mean.
You got
Like
some amazing park riders. They're so good in the park. Yeah. But you see them try to turn down like a steep run and you're like,
for sure.
That's just a
And
side
trust me,
step,
like
dude.
I get it. I've been here a long time and you see it all. Like the guys that talk a lot of smack are normally guys that roll in the park, and it's like, we'll come down the dive or come down, we'll go take you on the twigs and we'll go walk and we'll go hit some backcountry. And it's like, the situation's a lot different when you put them in powder, right? So I get it. I get it.
I'm into POW, just not steep shit. Like, just not like
POW's
I
gotta
don't
be
want to ride
steep.
moguls because all the steep shit is all moguled out from all the
Yeah, I love
skiers, and then you
moguls.
got to deal with that. It's like, have you ever tried that on a snowboard, bro? It's like,
Dude.
just buy a reverse cam and just call it even.
We just haven't had a snowstorm.
Oh my dude, no! Come snowboard with me.
Yeah,
I will
not
take
a
you down
reverse
moguls.
gamer,
I will
no.
show you how to ride
This is
moguls.
how I go over moguls. Lean back and fucking let her rip, buddy.
No.
Oh.
All the way down. Oh
So,
yeah.
oh my god, this is gonna make me sound like such a nerd. I love snowboarding on moguls. They're my favorite because it feels like surfing, man.
Oh yeah.
I will take you out on moguls and I will show you a couple different strategies so that you can approach those moguls and ride them differently than that.
I've
Because
just been
putting all your weight on the
blasting
back
over
foot is the worst idea.
For
'cause
sure.
Newton's law of gravity is gonna fuck with your
Yeah.
shit when you do that.
Oh, I know.
Gotta have weight on the front foot.
Oh man,
Yeah.
moguls, when you get into a rhythm and you're on some good moguls,
Nice.
let me tell you,
That's
it
sweet.
becomes freaking spiritual. And we all know
Nice.
snowboarding can become
Yeah. Oh,
spiritual,
yeah,
right?
big
Like
time.
that moment where you're just like, nothing else matters.
First time in like waist deep POW, and you're like, this is fucking sick.
Just for the record, I'm
That's
not an
swish.
advocate for moguls. I understand. I've rode with instructors before you.
I know we're all weirdos.
I've rode with instructors before, and they're like, "Yo, moguls are sick. Moguls are sick." Like, I get it. It's technically difficult to ride moguls. There's a lot involved, so I get it
It's
from
the
an instruction.
sensation that you get from it.
I get it. I get it.
It is.
I get it.
Yeah, it's totally like surfing. Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make earlier is we haven't even had a snowstorm big enough to fill the moguls in at least 3 years.
Oh, it's been
So
brutal.
protecting our winters being a big part of it for sure.
Yeah, man. We need to figure stuff out. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on women in snowboarding? Obviously, you became part of the
proponent.
industry. This is a big one.
Yeah, I love women's snowboarding. We used to have these amazing camps out here called the Women's Snowboard Federation, like ride days.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's these incredible things that are happening thanks to Unlimited and Rude Girls.
Yes.
The ride days.
Awesome.
There's nothing that a woman shouldn't do on a snowboard.
For sure.
And
Agreed.
it is the kind of sport like. I don't know about you, but when I'm watching comps these days, I'd rather watch the women's slope style because I can count the rotations. I don't know what the men are doing. I'm like, wow, that was huge. I can't figure it out. Whereas like I'm watching chicks that are coming down and like the level of snowboarding is outrageous.
For
Like,
sure. The women have hit that exponential point where it's getting insane. Men.
And the style is out of control. Like
100%.
Mia Brooks, that sleepy style. Like the guys are crazy too, though. Like snowboarding is so cool.
the spin to win aspect to it, I get it. It's a little bit boring to watch when, now it's 23.65 is the highest.
It makes you dizzy watching it. And it's so cool. It's a feat of humanity for sure. Like it's insane. When you watch did you see at the Olympics when that guy, I forget what his name was. He got so far out of the pipe. It was like 20 feet
over
out
the
of,
meter. Yeah.
out of the pipe, which is already like 24 feet. Like, but he's so high in the air. Like he's a bird at that point. Like it's crazy.
Personally, I'm more of a fan of the newer style knuckle huck comps where
those
you
are
got
so
like
cool.
Zeb Powell riding that big
he's so
180,
cool. I was talking about
190.
him
Like
yesterday, yeah.
I used to be kind of more of a park rat when I first moved here, riding shortboards, 150s, 155s, like stuff more for riding rails. In my later years, now I'm on like 163, 165s. I love a huge, stiff,
Crazy,
all
hey?
mountain board. Like the amount of control you have, the amount of amplitude you get off of nothing. Like
And that like zing. that you
yeah,
get
you're
back.
just fast, right? So then after, like, I don't know, that style of contest, I think where the more imaginative side of snowboarding is
because that
really
creative
coming
side
out.
is what we all love about it, right?
Big
like
time. Here,
the
one second.
fact-
I'm just gonna move this like that. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking into the wrong
you're all
side.
good. You're all good.
You told me to face it too.
That's okay, no problem. But back to women in snowboarding.
Yeah.
Rude Boys Unlimited, doing
great
huge.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of amazing like Norquay and Lake Louise and Sunshine. There's a bunch of amazing programs for people to learn how to ski and snowboard or how to get into the park or
sure.
how to get into like big mountain stuff. Like there's a lot of programs that are available to encourage people that identify as female to come out and get out on snow, because we still see a huge disparity between the amount of women that snowboard and the amount of men that snowboard. So sometimes when I'm doing like CASI courses, I'll invite the women to come into my cell, just because it's really rare to see women like you. And if you don't have that representation, if you don't see that, like, it's hard to be that, right?
No doubt. That makes sense.
But there's so much amazing snowboarding on this, like Jess Kimura. There's just so many incredible athletes. MFR, like, there so many incredible females that have had so much style that it wasn't about watching female snowboarding. It was just about watching good snowboarding, you know? And that's I think one of the coolest parts that we're seeing.
Well, I think female snowboarding is affected by marketability even a little bit more than men's snowboarding. If you're talking about like the pros and who's getting paid to do what jobs, if you look at, say, the Olympic athletes, like, what was it? Like Kelly Clark, let's say, tremendous rider, not so much commercial success as far as marketability.
Well, she didn't look like Jamie Anderson.
Well, that's
right?
what I mean. That's the point I'm making.
She also didn't try to, right? And like, props to her, she was too busy ripping it. And,
Yeah,
like,
fair.
Absolutely,
Yeah, fair.
Dominating the game in her own way. But then you look at like Chloe Kim took time off to go back to university because she's like, snowboarding's not in life. I've also got other things that I'm interested in, and that's also cool examples of different options. But yeah, I think there's still definitely like a cool girl vibe that happens sometimes, where you've got like the total Betties that are in it for the culture, and then you've got the people that are in it for the joy of it. And as snowboard instructors, we're often kind of like the weirdos. Like, it's like, you're a freaking nerd. What are you even doing here? Like, it's never been about being cool for me.
Fair.
At all. Like, it just was a happy byproduct that I enjoyed something that was very cool at the same time. But I think it's like there's a lot of people within the snowboard community that don't feel like they fit in with that clique.
For sure.
Of like hyper cool people that are just dope. You know, like, it's like a lot of us feel like, nah, man, I just like sliding sideways. Sorry, like I'm not up with like, I don't have those tiny little sunglasses, and like, they're adorable, but like,
oh my God,
all the power to you for loving that. But that's also part of what's so great about snowboarding is like, you shouldn't have to look like Jamie Anderson to be an incredible snowboarder. And you clearly don't. Like, there's been some incredible females that have absolutely broken that mold, I think, a little bit. And like, no disrespect to Jamie Anderson.
For sure. Zero disrespect. Yeah.
She was an absolute dream. She was an
100%.
absolute sweetheart. Yeah.
I think that whole clickiness and the whole like partying aspect and being cool in snowboarding, I think that's like very rapidly dissipating. Like, it was very much more a thing 10 years ago when I was like, I don't know, maybe I just like, kids aren't really partying. Yeah, they're still cool. The cool kids and not cool kids. And maybe the instructors being the more like interested in the technical side of snowboarding than the cool side of snowboarding. Like, I think the technical side is still cool. Like, I still love learning about snowboarding even in my old age. Like, now I read books about them. Like, I'm picking up Jeremy Jones books to read when I'm off. Like, it's
oh my
crazy.
God, do you want to hear how dumb I am? So I used to when I first got into snowboarding, I clearly had heard about Jeremy Jones, right? So I was like, man, this guy's incredible. He's like the best big mountain rider, and like, look at his rail game. So good. Two different guys.
Yeah,
I didn't know that for probably at least 5 to 6 years, because I was just like, why isn't anybody losing their fucking minds about Jeremy Jones? He's the most talented rail rider. He's the most talented big mountain guy.
Jeremy Jones was insane though. Like, I remember like the
Which one?
No, the rail rider, not the.
He was insane. The rail rider was insane. I thought they were the same fucking person, so I was over there losing my shit in Ontario because there was no like girls skate shops in Toronto at that time. There was a couple skate shops, but when I came out to Calgary and I saw Mission Girls, I was like, what the fuck?
Like,
an
women's
all-female
products.
skate shop? Like, that blew my mind. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm welcome in this community. And I think that's something that skateboarding almost has done faster and better than snowboarding. Maybe because they're a little older, but like, the women of skateboarding are revered. Right? And the women of snowboarding are now being revered more so than ever before, I think. And that's like a move in the right direction. But I think that is showing that shift in the culture that you're talking about.
100%.
Where it's like, now people aren't like spraying people that are trying to learn on the bunny hill.
No.
It's not really cool to do that
because
anymore.
everyone's
you
been
spray
there.
your pals. Like, you spray the shit out of your buddy when you see them, and you're like, you're a ding dong. Why are you sitting there? Like, but you don't really want to shit on people that are learning the sport anymore.
No.
And I'm stoked to see that, because I feel like skateboard culture has never been like that, right? Like, I go to a skate park here in Banff, and like, it doesn't matter if I'm with my 4-year-old kiddo who's on a scoot. All the dudes that are ripping in there, they're so welcoming. They're so kind about it. Like,
everybody's down to help the kids out.
That's
like,
it.
It's just because like, you want to see kids having fun, like skateboarding. Not.
Yeah.
It's not like yo, get your kid out of my way. It's
No.
like
It's
like,
kind of
you
lost
mind
that.
it's
Like, that outlaw mentality is kind of gone.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like-
you're not going to grow your sport if you don't let people into your
no,
sport. You know?
exactly right.
Well, and I think we're starting to see that on the snowboard side a little bit too, of like people are actually starting to put their kids in lessons.
Right.
And like teach them how to snowboard properly and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
from
So
the
like
beginning, yeah.
their kids are eclipsing them. And I like, honestly,
Oh, big
on
time.
Monday morning, I had a guy for like first thing in the morning. He was like, my 9-year-old's getting better than me. I need to learn how to ride these black diamonds better. And I was
Nice.
like, perfect, let's go. Right.
Sick.
Like,
Family
because
lesson.
He taught
Yeah.
himself how to snowboard years ago. He's pretty good at it, you know,
Yeah,
like
but-
he's
Yeah.
a good snowboarder. He can get around, but he knows that he's like kind of sketchy on the black stuff. Like he knows he's
Yeah.
kind of sketchy as soon as he goes too fast. And I was like, oh yeah, you are. Like he wants to keep himself in good shape.
Yeah,
and if
no
he
doubt.
hurts himself at 45,
Yeah, you're
he's
fucked.
not gonna have a good time at work for the next 6 months. You know, like it's
Definitely
there's
not.
a lot more consequences as you get older. And I think we're starting to see a shift in culture where people are actually starting to like maybe get into the snowboard instruction side, starting to not be the max nerdery of it. Like,
No, even like I said when I started, I've been recommending lessons to new snowboarders for
Especially out
years.
here.
It's if you want to
yeah.
if you want to enjoy it, like
My first day on the
save
hill,
yourself the embarrassment, save yourself the
pain.
injury,
Yeah.
the
Like,
pain.
seriously.
my
yeah.
first day out here, I thought I was gonna go rip because like
Nah.
I grew up in Ontario. I rode park my whole life, and like I could do some like I could cruise.
yeah.
Get out here, first day top speed 35K. I'm like, man, I was ripping. I was not ripping at all.
Everybody thinks they're gonna rip.
And
That's
it's just like
awesome.
you're just not used. Like nothing back east is gonna prepare you for this.
No.
It's like not even fucking close. It's
Oh,
like you get to
no.
the top and you're like, oh no, I'm fucked.
Oh, dude, the
This is
culture
gonna be a
shock.
long way down.
When I had
Oh,
come
yeah.
out from
Oh, it
Ontario to
was
here,
bad.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm a pretty good snowboarder. And then I
Nope.
got here and I was like, I am the worst, actually. This sucks.
People that learn here though get so good so
Oh, yeah,
fast.
it's
like
wild.
it's
The kids
it's
are
crazy
great.
to see.
And the length of runs, like you can't.
Yeah.
You
No,
can't.
you
compare.
can't.
That's
beat
true. I guess
Oh.
that just riding
35
distance
seconds in Ontario to wait 20 minutes in lift line
for
Yep.
sure.
If you're lucky.
if you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week we talked about one of the posts that you posted on Overheard and Bam.
All right.
About the new dog park.
Yeah.
About the latest petition in the town. Now, it's not really a petition, anyways. So, basically, if you haven't seen it, there's been a proposal for the Marmot Crescent Dog Park, which is just down the street from here. There's been signs kind of up. Matt said you got a mailer dropped off at your
Yeah,
house
they
or
like
something.
put some stuff in the front lobby there. They had like a whole bunch of like door hangers.
So
Yeah,
basically, they're taking this little area. I don't know how little it is. It seems pretty large, actually. If
It's going to be bigger than the rec grounds one.
yeah.
And I should have. I could probably pull it up on my phone, but yeah,
I walked by there the other day and it looks like it's pretty good size. Like they're already in there clearing stuff out.
Yeah, so they're clearing stuff out for fire smart stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the fire smart stuff, is smart, right? Like we
Oh, yeah,
saw
we
what
need
happened
that.
to Jasper. We need it.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
initiative on behalf of the town and administration.
Shout out Louie.
The issue that I have with it is that like that zone is already really well used and loved.
for sure.
No
It's
doubt.
used by a ton of people who have reactive dogs that cannot use dog parks.
Yeah.
point.
And once you put a fence around it, you're stopping everybody else from using it.
That's kind of like.
And I
but-
don't
so
get that.
I'm not against it or for it. To be clear, I don't have a dog. I
Me
don't
neither.
like it does. I don't really
I love
care.
dogs, though.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love
them.
dogs
No
too. I don't like if it became a dog park, I wouldn't be super upset. It wouldn't like really ruin my day that bad. A lot of dog owners that I've talked to, I've had dog owners message the pod and be like, yo, like it's something that's really necessary as far as letting the dogs run off leash. Now, technically in the park, you're not,
not allowed to do
supposed like
You're not. And I'm sorry, this is going to sound callous, but you bought a dog knowing the rules in this town.
yeah, fair.
You chose to get a dog. I
Mm-hmm.
also have had a lot of dog owners reaching out to me being like, people need to walk their dogs on leash.
Exactly,
Like, and,
right?
Yeah,
and go
and
out
it's
and do
nuts
it.
out here.
The town has this mandate to try to make the town more walkable.
Uh-huh.
The dog parks have a lot of people driving to them with their dogs.
For sure, yeah.
And I
no
have
doubt.
seen with my own two eyes people just dropping their dogs off in the off leash area and going back to their car and waiting in their car. So I'm
That's
not gonna.
insane.
Yeah, that's
it
not
happens,
that's
man.
not responsible
A lot
ownership.
Of people well, but it happens, and like there's a lot of really good dog owners in this town.
For sure. We're not knocking that.
And there's also a lot of really, really good dog owners that will be losing their safe space to walk with their dogs if they fence this one off.
For sure.
And a lot of other people that use that zone for other reasons will also be losing that zone. And I don't understand the philosophy of taking such a well-used, like multi-purpose area
It's a
and
beautiful
sectioning
area.
it off. There are 432 registered dogs in this town. That's not a lot.
That's not that much.
That's not a lot. They already
Nope.
have services available to
For
them.
sure.
They also have services available to them in Canmore.
Yep.
They also have services available to them in Calgary. There are services available. Like, you can get out of the national park and let your dog go bananas.
Honestly, like,
The reason that they're not allowed to have their dogs off leash in town
It's
is
for
not,
animals.
It's for animals.
Yes. Or
And it's
wildlife,
not
yeah.
just because of Parks Canada. It's also a town of Banff bylaw. But the thing is, we know with many bylaws in this town, the smoking on Banff Ave, if it's not enforced, what's the point of having it?
For
right?
sure.
So I think the concern with a lot of people that live close to the dog park, because I live very close to it, is that who's going to control the noise? Who are we going to be able to talk to when there are problems? Because you know what people call the other dog park? The dog fight park.
yeah, the fighting ring.
right.
The
Mi-
fighting ring.
The Michael
and
Vick
like,
Park.
why are we inviting that into such a residential area? We know that dogs get out of the rec grounds
Big
because
time.
they're getting chewed up.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of people that have reached out to me that say that their dogs are reactive because of the off-leash dog parks.
For sure.
Is that legal town that we really want to get into? Because like these dog parks have been very destructive to the zones that they are on.
Well, that's
right?
it. You're bringing all different dogs. They all think they own that space, and you're putting them all together. And you said if the owners are not there, if the dogs are not reactive to the owners, which is sometimes is the case.
From what I've
it's-
heard, it gets pretty sketchy sometimes
For
out
sure.
there.
That's
And I'm
crazy.
not sure how it's okay for them to put that in such a residential zone.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of people, one of the comments that got put on that post was like, why not just use that money to improve the rec grounds more?
Yeah.
And I think that's the best
Yeah.
argument, to be honest. Like, we already have a zone for it. There's already a spot that's been dedicated to it. If there's a dry out period, make a temporary one like they've done in the past.
For
like
sure.
a lot of people are saying cap the one in the industrial. From my understanding, that's going to be like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I can understand why council and administration don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to
For
cap
sure.
a dump.
Yeah.
Should they have
Okay.
maybe done a shovel test there? My thing is also,
Probably.
they're kind of sitting, like administration is kind of sitting at a 0 for 2 for building good dog parks.
For sure.
So why are we giving them another shot?
No doubt.
Great
like
point.
what is actually they're gonna do a shovel test in this one? What are they gonna dig the whole thing up before they make it into a dog park? Then it's gonna be muddy and swampy just like the other one. So you're gonna shut both of them down at the same time and still have the same problem. Like
And now we're down a whole bunch of money
and
in
I also
another
have a hard time
useless dog
understanding
park.
where the data is to support needing another one. Where is the data? Where has
One of the
this
comments
need
read
come from?
One of the comments read that it was just maybe someone that has influence close to the council or something that maybe wanted a dog park closer to them or something like
I
that.
just also think like we need stuff like, this was another really lucid comment that was made. Like, we need something to bring our community together right now.
For sure.
We all remember the ped zone, right? Like, remember the ped zone. # remember the ped zone.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget, right? And like I was a firm no. I served on that street. It was awful.
Yeah.
The people that I was serving $29 burgers to were not having a good time. I was not having a good time. And we can do better.
For sure.
We could have the nicest pedestrian zone in North America. That was not it.
Not it. Agreed.
And the town spoke. We didn't ever hear, oops, sorry, we got that wrong. Hey,
No.
we should have done
It was
that
the
different.
companies that got beat that were like almost
you guys-
shaming people in public.
Did you guys see the report of how much money they actually got from companies in this town? It's publicly available.
I heard that that
There-
campaign, that yellow campaign, was upwards of $30,000, if
Oh,
not more.
buddy, that's conservative. It was upwards of $55,000.
Yeah.
And there
Wow.
was 2 companies in this town that contributed over $28,000 each.
Wild,
And these
huh?
are companies in town that are maybe known for not necessarily paying some of their people very
Yeah.
well. And it's like, what? Like, you guys had enough money to spend on advertising for that? And so it was pretty crazy to see this corporate kind of, campaign that was really in their own best interest. You
Yeah.
can't knock them
Oh,
for
yeah, no
working in their
doubt.
own best interest. They're very smart.
They tried.
So they had over $55,000, and so little of it was funded by the crowds, right?
Yeah.
Then the other side had a total of I think it was $17,000 until I think
All
it might have been
funded by the
12
community.
There was one $5,000 donation.
Yeah.
The other team had over $50,000 of donations that were corporate, and I'm just so happy that the side
That they still
the people
couldn't
actually
convince.
could be heard, and for the organizers that put everything together, I think that was really wonderful because we do have to think about what we're leaving for the people behind us.
I
And
would
if they
agree.
fence off that forest to build that dog park, they're never going to be able to undo that. And you laughed at this post when you guys were having that podcast with Hopsy because there was I was like, I didn't realize we had a freaking dog park crisis on our hands. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that. Because from what I've understood, that zone is actually slotted for development for housing.
Yes.
It's just not slotted in the next 5 years, which is why I really don't understand why you would destroy a multi-use area to build over $100,000 dog park to then possibly just take it down.
My whole thing was, if you fence it in, then only dogs can use it. Right
That's
now,
it.
dogs can use it, kids can use
Everybody
it,
can
animals,
use it.
the wildlife
You get
can pass through there. Like, why do you
know
need a
what?
fence?
Where you guys are right here, you know that useless piece of forest right behind this building right over
yeah.
here?
Uh-huh.
Why don't they turn that into the off-leash dog park?
Yeah, no
There you
doubt.
go.
Because nobody takes anybody walking through there because
like
it's not
half
pleasant.
yeah, it's all marshy
But there's
and
still, it's all marshy and stuff. But do it there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do it there. You've got like the same options. You could have it just as big.
Yeah,
it would be on the north side of town. You wouldn't be taking away a multi-use, like a vibrant part of our
Yeah.
community. And it's important. Like, you know, you think of New York City, you think of Toronto, like there's cities that have parks built into them. And that's very, very intentional.
For sure.
That is one of the only slices of urban forest we have on this side of town.
Yeah.
For
No
them
doubt.
to
Yeah,
not
that's
see
right.
the value in that, I think is disturbing. I think it's disturbing.
Well, you can still get your word out. We did post a survey on the Instagram page at Overheard Podbanf. It's in our story today, accompanied with a picture of the proposed dog park. The survey was actually in the comments of this because there was a petition not started by you, correct? You
Yep.
posted it. It was
Yep.
started by someone else.
I was asked to post it, which is brings me to another point that like there's a lot of people in this town that are afraid of speaking out.
Oh, big time.
There's a lot of people in this town that don't want to say things because they are afraid for their job and for their reputation.
big time.
For sure.
And luckily, I'm scum, so it doesn't matter. But like, you know, it's I think that's sad. That's sad. But I do hope that our counselors are listening. I do hope that they listen to the survey data and that they see how deeply this will disappoint some people in the community, especially.
And again, one of the problems noted in the comments was the survey questions are kind of formulated in the
They
way
always
that
do
it's
that.
already gone through. Like,
That's it. And that's why the petition was started.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people were filling out that survey feeling like it's already a done deal. And we've already seen that in town.
yes, we have.
Right? Where it's like, we didn't want that and you still shoved it down our throats. And
Yeah.
it kind of, we're all very nervous that that's what's going to happen here. So that's what bred the petition. And I posted it because I was asked to and because I think it's a terrible idea.
Well, honestly, I got to tip my hat to you because I think you've been the most outspoken guest, or
doubt.
kind of the one most likely to speak their mind unfiltered on this show. So I got to thank you. Like, it's like, again, the fact that you were asked to do it by someone who's scared to have repercussion shows a lot of people's position in this town with
Right.
their beliefs are tied up into where they work. You know what I mean? Like, you have
Well,
to hate this person because you work for a
lot
company
of-
that hates that person.
A
or
lot of
whatever.
people are just at the mercy of their employer, right? Like we talked
Yeah.
about at the beginning of the show, housing. Like you lose your job because you speak out about a town issue where, you know, the owner is part of council or who knows what,
Yeah.
you know, has influence somewhere. You're just fucked. And then you lose your job because of something you said outside of work. And then you lose your housing because you lost your job. And now you're really fucked. And then it's just like,
And then we wonder why we have mental health problems in
Well,
this
it's also
town.
a way of forcing your opposition out of town. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Like, it's definitely a way of getting rid of people that don't agree with you.
Yeah, and I think like what's happening south of the border is like really emblematic of like if you are apathetic, if you choose not to say things are going to happen anyways.
True.
So you might as well speak up and you might as well speak out because you can't wait for somebody else to. That might not happen.
Have you ever thought of running for council yourself?
Ooh. I think it's a really hard job, and my hat goes off to them.
For sure.
The hardest thing that I think is about it is similar to being on a board, is that you are not making decisions in a like you're not alone in making those decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to work as part of a larger unit.
For sure.
And I think that can be really challenging, especially with some of the council meetings that I've seen. You know, sometimes
So
there are
dry.
people that are
It's so
asking
dry.
some questions and they get treated like terribly for asking these questions and sitting there as a like normal person listening to it. I'm like, no, I'm really glad they asked that because I also had that question.
Like, why would you open yourself up to that type of criticism,
That's
like in
it.
public?
Like, well, I don't even know about that because I do think that we're quite respectful in this town towards. I think we all have a lot of reverence for the people that are putting themselves up for public service. I know I do. Like, kudos to them for being willing to sit in those super dry meetings
Yeah.
and read all
It's
that
long.
information.
It's long.
I think it's a really hard job.
Big time.
And if I was to do it, I would have to think about it pretty darn hard, and my husband would have to be on board because it would be a lot. I don't know that they get paid enough. I don't know.
It is a paid position, so they do get paid, and I think they've been rallying to get paid more, which, again, I don't know exactly what the job entails.
It's a lot.
But a little side note, we will have an episode coming up in the future. I don't want to blow with who, but we will be discussing more about the town elections. As I'm aware, the elections will be coming up soon. We'll be selecting new council.
Yeah.
So October of this year. So we will be diving into it as it comes up because it's something that we have to talk about.
And it's important. Like, we have a counselor who's been on council for over 30 years, folks.
Yeah.
It's allowed.
From what I've gathered,
and, like, it's supposed to be totally normal. Like, it's totally fine being on council for over 30 years.
The painting that's been painted to me of how our town council kind of sits is that there's a majority of 3 and a minority of 2. I'm not going to say who or what or
it's obvious.
whatever.
If you look at the council meetings,
100%.
It's so obvious, yeah.
So the 3 pass whatever pretty much they want, with the 2 fighting to do anything for the community, where the 3 kind of act more maybe on the side of the bigger companies in town.
Or from what I've heard, like, are just kind of taking everything, I don't know, are taking everything that administration says as gospel. Like, oh, okay, we'll do exactly what administration wants us to do. And that, my understanding is that, like, counselors are supposed to represent the needs of the people.
Yeah.
And
we elect them.
They are supposed to work in conjunction with town administration and see what's going on. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So stay tuned with us. We will be bringing you more local political discord because it's got to be spoken about somewhere, right? We're in such a transient population of people coming and going, and a lot of people, frankly, they don't really give a shit. But those of us that have been here a long time, you kind of see these patterns in the way kind of council is used to pass certain things or kibosh others, or like you said, like a $50,000 campaign that's somehow working in conjunction with the town to keep a ped zone that no one in the town actually wants. It's just a very strange scenario to be in.
And it's very important to recognize the efforts of people that are exposing that a little bit, right? And I think you guys are really well positioned to continue to bring breath and light into that kind of shadowy spot of town.
For sure, and we intend to do so. So stay tuned. We will have plenty more of this this stuff coming up in the future. Last thing we want to talk about is your new venture.
Ooh, death. Let's talk about death, baby.
What is a Thanadula and what is end of life services? What does that entail? What are you offering? What is that whole?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, so a Thanadula is or a death doula is somebody who's taken a very short course to learn how to support people through their end of life and how to support people who are facing end of life within family members or loved ones.
So not just yourself, like the family.
That's
like,
it.
Yeah.
So let's say that you find out that a family member back in Ontario has been afflicted with a palliative, like they're not going to make it. I am somebody that you can reach out to be like, hey, can you take me through some of this? Like, what might this look like?
Like for support in that time.
That's it. And so there are things called doulas. Doulas are usually known for helping people in their birthing process, right? Helping life come into this world. And they're there to represent the needs of the mother. And so as a Thanadula, or as I'm my professor in the course, she called it an end of life strategist. And the reason that I love that so much.
It's a very technical term.
It is, but the reason I love that so much is because it's actually got so much more to do with figuring out how you want your end of life to look.
Okay.
And we recommend starting to think about it like if it was going to happen tomorrow, because you don't know what's going to happen.
True.
And so in Alberta, there's this great program called the Green Sleeves program where you have like a full thing and they'll ship it out to you for free, and you can fill out kind of, it starts getting you thinking about like your will and like what would you want to have happen with your stuff if you were to die tomorrow? What would you want people to know about where are your passwords? Where's all this stuff? And a lot of us are the children of boomers. Right? And the boomers are getting old, right? And a lot of them are starting to face diseases and starting to face things. And their houses are full of stuff that then we're going to have to get rid of, right?
Yep.
Their lives are complicated because they spend 6 months down south and then they spend 6 months up here. And like, how do you know what they own? Do you know what their assets are? Do you know what they bank with? Like, because if you're the kid, you might end up having all this shit on your shoulders and you might not know anything about it. So an end of life strategist for me is also figuring out for you, like, do you have a parent that's maybe not talked to you about this yet? Let me have a phone call with you. Let's sit down and let's talk about it with your parent and say, hey, so if tomorrow you were to have a stroke, Who would you want taking care of you? Would you need to stay home? And so there's a couple tools and some things that we have to be able to help people start to broach these very difficult topics of like,
because no one wants to talk about that, right?
but
like,
the thing is like,
it's
why?
so necessary.
Why not? It's a life. Like, we're all gonna die. There is no getting around that.
No doubt.
It's the only sure thing.
And so if you like having choices, like, you know, we hear people talk about freedom and like their own autonomy in life. And the number one time where your autonomy is taken away is when you get older. And it's when you're starting to approach death. And a lot of people think it's going to like, I'm going to retire and then I'm going to live really well in my house for a little while. And then all of a sudden I'll just die. Like I'll just die in my bed. That's not how most people die.
Seldom the case.
That is very seldom the case. And I think it's really important to talk about it. So my father passed away from cancer in 2019. And my grandfather passed when I was 10 years old. And I was the only kiddo that wanted to go see him in his casket. And I've always been super comfortable with death. I've always kind of been into metal and a little bit into that, you know, the darker sides of things.
There you go.
And I figure that I might as well take that comfort with death and turn it into space for others to talk about it when they might not be so comfortable.
Be that person that's comfortable broaching that topic.
Totally.
Basically.
And like, I know a lot of people that are super anxious. And I think that maybe some of it has to do with the fact that they don't realize they're going to die.
Yeah, fair.
And maybe some of them are too cognizant of the fact that they're going to die, but they're not actually taking it into a practical sense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you think you're going to die. Let's talk about that. What would you want to have happen? Who do you need to make amends with? Do you not need to make amends? Do you need to speak up for yourself right now before anything else happens? Or like, what would you want to have happen to your cat, to your dog? Who would you want taking care of your kid if you got in a car accident tomorrow? And like all of these things, like doesn't matter how old you are, it's worth talking about.
100%.
And it's worth considering. So I'm super excited about it. Not too sure how to like market it yet, because it's like, let's talk about death. There's some death cafes that are popping up all over the place. There's more and more death doulas because it is a super easy course to take. I'm taking a mediation course this summer because I think a lot
smart.
A lot of what I want to do has
of
to do with like, oh man, my mom's sick and my brother and I don't talk. How are we going to sort out who gets what?
It's a very
how are we
smart
going to
follow-up.
sort out how to support mom through this when my brother lives in Australia and I live here? Like, so I hope to hold space for people and to be able to help them navigate, super challenging time.
Very cool.
Well, when you were talking about it, I think one thing that popped into my mind, especially a lot of there's the fact that a lot of us don't have family here. So if say something's happening to your family back home and you want to talk to someone in the community or meet for someone with coffee, like that's a great to have that support there, you know.
100%.
And we're lucky we're Canadians, right? People that have family abroad in Australia, or maybe it's not so easy to get there in a day's notice or on a whim,
Well,
right?
and in Canada, the death movement has been really interesting, and we have MAID now, right? Medical assistance in dying. And I just had a very close family friend. He was like an uncle to me. He did want MAID, and it was written in all of his paperwork and everything. But by the time they got around to seeing if he was qualified for it and to physically visiting him, he was no longer well enough to qualify for MAID. So his family had to watch him slowly decrease in like faculties and everything, which was devastating for them. And it was devastating to know for him and his legacy too, because he was a brilliant dude, an incredible architect, like has buildings all across the world. And his final choice in life wasn't able to be respected because of the way the MAID laws are currently formulated, which is, I think people need to know that you can't just
100%.
write in your will and you can't just write in your advanced directives, I want MAID, because they need to talk to you about it present in that moment, and you have to be well enough to be able to say
to consent to it.
Consent to it. And it's for a lot of reasons. It's been a really hot topic, but I'm so proud of Canada for having that, because there's a lot of other very progressive countries that don't have anything near what we have. And in Canada, we have patient-centered care, which is incredible. It means that the patient's desires trump the doctor's. And that's, I think, very important when you talk about
I would agree with you there, definitely.
this country, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm excited to dive into it more, and I'm excited to continue to read about it. I have a really thick pile of books that are all about death, and I'm real fun at a party. For sure.
Oh God.
I'd say it's like the polar opposite of your personality, because you're so like bubbly and happy in your personality. Are you taking on clients right now? How can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about this stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. They can find me on Facebook through Manuela or on Instagram at Manuela. I haven't really figured out how to to get this going yet. The website stuff is all like, I'm sure you guys know it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like, it's just like being a musician or being, you got to have like a full-time business license in order to be able to do some of this stuff. So still trying to figure it out. But I will have definitely, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy for them to use those two venues for sure.
Sweet. We've been tagging her all week, so you can find her socials through our story, through our Instagram page, all that stuff. We're going to move to our post of the week.
Yeah, we got to rip because I've got an appointment in about
we got to run to...
Let's do it. Also, we got something exciting.
Yeah, our first official ad. So if you're a local business and you're looking to advertise with us, this is what you can expect.
This episode is brought to you by the Non-Alc Shaft. If you're looking for a clean energy drink that's gluten-free, vegan, naturally caffeinated with real coffee, perfect for the quick pick-me-up in the middle of the afternoon, or heck, in the morning when you're on the way to the hill, be sure to check out the beautiful black non-alc can sold as singles or as 4-packs down at Townhouse Liquor. I know my fridge is stocked up.
All right. And we are back with our post of the week. Go out and get yourself some shafts at Townhouse Liquor. First one of the week. We saw this post. This is on Bow Valley Network. Someone basically out their front window took this video of this elk with a broken leg and was like, hey, what should I do? Should I call someone? What's the process here? A lot of the comments were varied. People were like, you should definitely call someone.
No, you should go give it a hug, man. Come on. It just needs a hug.
No.
I just
These are wild animals, all right? Animals break legs in the wild. This stuff happens all the time. Best thing to do in these circumstances, I think, is to just let nature take its course. Unfortunately, this elk looks like it's suffering, but it will probably become food to some hungry animal, especially in the depths of winter.
Circle of life.
Circle of life. We're going to talk about it later. There's been coyotes all over the place. I don't know who you would call this into. I don't know if they're going to euthanize this animal. Like, you just kind of have to let nature be nature.
Well,
at
it's
the end
also
of the
still
day.
like chilling with its homies and stuff. Like it's doing it.
One of the comments went on to say that, like, oh yeah, I'd seen one with a broken leg that lived like 6 years with a broken leg. So like, you'd be surprised at how good they are at rebounding. This next one is about all the freaking coyotes around.
Oh,
so
yeah, they're hungry.
Yeah, you've seen them all over the
It's
place.
wild right now, dude. They're insane.
All over.
And they're like charging people. Like
I know.
they're
Yeah, that's what this post is about. That lady in Canmore got charged by the bridge there. It looks
crazy.
So the reason I wanted to include this post was at the bottom was this smart poster said that a lot of beautiful habitat has now been destroyed with the building of the Three Sisters Mountain Village and that brand new store up there that they're doing.
I think they might be onto something, gentlemen.
I think I saw the other day I was walking home and I thought I saw a big old cat walking around the town. Not a cougar, but I thought it was maybe a lynx.
Oh, cool.
I tried to like shine my light down the alley because I walk like behind this house and I was like, I look so creepy right now with my light on. So I didn't, but yeah.
Walking down alleyways with your flashlight.
Just a heads up for those out there. It's pretty gnarly.
Keep them on a leash.
Yeah, there's a lot of coyotes that I've been seeing around here too. Maybe it's just that time of season.
This one here, there's a bit of a wildlife discussion going on. There's got to be a new fire chief. So Banff Fire Chief Carrie Martins and Jane Park, fire vegetation specialist with Banff National Park.
Nice.
They're doing a public wildfire panel and discussion Tuesday, February 25th. So next Tuesday, after you tune into our show, you can go check out this wildfire discussion panel.
Nice plug.
Thank you.
Smooth.
They're going to be discussing fire guards and other forest mitigation that's happening around. We've talked about it earlier, burning in that spot.
Important
the
stuff.
dog park. Yeah, very important stuff.
Man, the fire break by Lake Louise is massive. You can see it from the top of the hill. It's huge.
I saw some crazy posts posted today, and it was a picture of Jasper before the fires, and you could see all the dead trees that were like red from the pine beetles, and it was like
crazy,
pretty crazy.
Dude, that was crazy. Felt so close to home.
Anyways, next Tuesday, go check out that discussion. The Banff sign is on its move again.
You mean the FNAB?
The FNAB sign.
The FNAB sign.
This time spotted backwards by, I think this is the parking lot, the train station parking lot.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah,
just to the right-hand side there, yeah.
So, yeah, it's on the move again. I guess they wanted to test it out another spot. for the long weekend. And we
I
all
think
know
that's like a better spot though. Let's be real. Like that's way better.
it's a pretty good spot. People can park their cars and then walk there.
The fact that the department gets to keep getting called the planning department when they did that is shocking.
The
to me.
guessing department.
The guessing department, not the
Oh my God.
We got to give a
It's all
big
jokes.
shout out to Muskrat National Parks on Instagram. I don't know who this is.
We got to find this person.
This is like an enigma to me, but I love their stuff. I'm always the first to like. You can see the first like down at the bottom.
That's amazing.
Just posting bad parking, Muskrat National Parks. Go give them a follow on Instagram because I feel like they should get way more love than they get.
That is amazing. I'm gonna follow them right away.
So that one's pretty bad. This one's way off.
They need a cab to get to the curb for sure.
Look at this shit. Like, how did you even get?
I'm gonna go ahead and maybe guess that they were not in a sober mind.
Yeah, this is nighttime out front of the McDonald's.
Oh, that's
So
That's a
Okay, there we
McDonald's.
go.
Oh, yeah.
It all makes
That
sense.
makes sense. Story checks out.
you could park a car in between the curb and that car for those that are listening in. It's fucking insane.
Easily. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not even a joke.
Love the long weekend. Knew we would get some good parking posts.
All right.
Ooh.
There we go. So, Uprising Craft Bakery. Renos are closed for good. Have been allegations of questionable staff payments for many years. And that looks like the Banff location. So, I'm not sure. But,
So just the Banff location.
Yes.
The Canmore one's gonna stick around. Ah, okay. Okay.
Well, the comments were varied. So definitely the Banff location is closed. Closed, not for renos, closed for good.
Somebody posted like, "Oh, whenever you start doing raves in a bakery, it's not a
That's
good
what I was
sign."
just going to say.
yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Awesome. So yeah, no more Uprising Bakery. Wasn't my first choice for bakeries in the town of Banff personally. Plenty of greater options that had better bread. There's
I
one
agree.
loaf
You know,
in town.
there's
one loaf.
there's the sourdough to rule.
There's
them all.
one loaf.
We talk about
Yeah, there's
that,
one loaf.
The wildflower. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Like-
Their croissants are also phenomenal. If you
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
the money to go to Paris, like you,
Chocolate croissant.
oh,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very
buddy.
good. Very, very good thing.
There's one loaf.
Yeah, there's
on.
one loaf in this town. We all pinch the same loaf.
And that's not even an ad. Like, I'll do that shit for free.
That's fair. That's
It's
so fair.
good.
Yeah, no, it's delicious.
Comments did go on to read that there's apparently a brand new exciting project coming on.
Cool.
I think it's beer related based on the comments. I don't know for sure. This is just my own speculation. I believe it will be beer or brewery related.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll keep you posted.
Dan, your choice. We got time for one more post.
One more post?
Your choice.
Which ones do we have left?
We got the selfie, which I think we should probably end it on because it's fucking hilarious.
Which
Oh
one?
my gosh, yes, the selfie.
The selfie.
Definitely.
The hand selfie.
The sharks.
Oh, God,
Jesus
yes.
Christ. We talked about it already. Let's just do it.
Okay, yeah, we'll do this one and we'll call it a day. This one here is crazy. I found this one just on Vice,
It's so goddamn
and it made
stupid.
me think. We're so lucky in Banff that we don't have sharks. So this one goes to read: Woman tried to take a selfie with a shark and lost both hands.
Why? 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 What? Wait.
So did she lose her phone though? That's what I really want to know. Like, did the shark eat it? What
Did she
happened
get
to
the selfie?
I want to
she
see
get
the
the shot?
selfie. I want to see
wanna
the
know,
selfie.
'cause,
Yeah, we
like,
wanna see
what
the
was she?
selfie.
Was she
Oh
like
my God.
around the shark's mouth? Like, what was she trying to do?
The post goes on to
That's
read
impressive.
that one of the hands was bitten
terrible.
off and the other arm was bitten off at the forearm. So wild stuff. I
just
swear
don't
this would happen to
understand what
people.
She was thinking, like in the first place.
This would happen to Banff if we had sharks here,
I can't believe it hasn't happened with bears yet.
right?
Like I had a guy once ask me where to get a sandwich to feed the bears. I'm like, don't do that.
Bro,
Like,
never.
that's not a good idea.
I
way.
remember when I first came to town, people were always talking about the families that would spray themselves with bear spray.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, because they thought it was bear repellent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The hotels will close down.
It doesn't work that way.
Oh my God.
Well, that's all the time we
Oh my
have
gosh,
for you
that's
today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If it's your first time joining us, you know what to do. Follow us wherever it is, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Everything helps bring you more community-based episodes every week.
Heck yeah.
Big thanks to Drink Shaft, the non-alcoholic shaft. Go get yourself one at Townhouse Liquor if you haven't already. Thank you so much, Manuela, for coming by.
Thanks so
That
much for
was
having me.
This has been
so
great.
good.
That was
yeah,
fun.
Take
I
care.
feel like we could have kept going for forever here.
Sorry if I talk too much. I
No,
apologize.
there's no such.
okay.
You talk too much on the podcast.
Yeah.
This is my first podcast. Thanks
I
for
thought we
doing
were
it.
supposed to just sit here and be quiet.
No, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Sit in silence
And again, maybe we'll have you back to talk more specifically on the Thanadula stuff.
Yeah, sounds great.
Because that's a whole topic in itself. We could have got into much more of that.
So down for talking about death.
If you do have some grief, there's always help out there. Mineral Springs Hospital 24 hours a day, or
Totally.
give Manuela a shout.
100%.
If it's
Also,
not an
big shout out
emergency.
to the Mountain Muskox community that are out
Yes.
of Canmore doing beautiful things. And there's also death cafes popping up both in Canmore and in Banff if you need to talk about death. There's a lot of options.
There you go. So tons of options out there. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and like every week, see you next Tuesday.